Hello again, this is David, and in this podcast I'm going to show you the process of joint labeling to correct mirroring and copying skin weight options. So in this example scene here, I have a sphere with multiple joints and the sphere is bound to these joints. Now a common problem that happens with the default settings for copying and mirroring skin weights is you see that the weights don't transfer correctly if the joints are occupying the exact same space. So if you can see here on the left side, I have 5 joints occupying the same space, and the joints are mirrored for the right side. And if I look at the skin weights right now, let's bring up the tools, you can see that the joints on the left side have very specific weighting corresponding to their name. So back, bottom, center, front, top. And the right side just has its default weights from when I initially bound it. Now, as I said before, a common problem that happens with mirroring skin weights, so if I pull up the option menu here, so the default settings, everything's good, and the closest joint is the default setting for the influence association. The problem is if I mirror with closest joint, if I take a look at the weights, you see on the right side where it should look like the left side, nothing really looks right. In fact, all the skin weight has been transferred to one joint, the top joint. Now obviously I don't want that for my skin weights, and if I try one-to-one, we run into a similar problem. Go back into skin weights where you see some of them work, but you see this joint did not get any weight. In fact, it was transferred to this joint. So I'm not getting accurate weight mirroring, which can be a problem. But the solution for that problem is joint labeling. Now, joint labeling is a specific notation that you can give to your joint to ensure that it is unique. And the good news is that you can mirror these skin weights using these joint labels. So if I click on the left top bind and I go into the attribute editor, if I scroll down from the top here, you see there's this tab for joint labeling. And you can see here we have a side type and this other type which is grayed out, which I will describe. So the side is essentially what side of the rig the joint is on. So left, right, center. And so since this is a left joint, I'm going to give it a left label. Now, if I look at the type menu here, you see there's a bunch of options for generic body parts. Now the problem is you could give these joints a generic type like hip, knee, or foot. But the problem is if you give multiple joints that, you're going to run into the same problem. But what's handy is down here you see there's an other option. If I click on that, you can see that the other type text field has opened up. And in this text field, you can actually give a specific or unique name to that individual joint. And so what I like to do with my joints is I like to actually take the name of the joint and plug that into the text field here. So since this is left top bind, we already have left, so we don't need the LF underscore, and I don't necessarily need a bind underscore, so I'm just going to label this top. And so now it has its very specific label. So what I'm going to do is go to the right joint and apply the joint labeling. Now since this is the right joint, I want to make sure it's got the right side. And I'm going to go to the other option again. Now, it's really important to note here that when giving the other type, you have to make sure that the name that goes into this text field exactly matches the name for the other joint on the left side. So since the left side was called top, I'm going to call this top as well. Now if you look at the other joints, I've already given them the labels that we need, so just to speed it up. So every joint has a label, and it has a left or right side, and the label names match correctly. So if I go into the mirror skin weights option here, and under influence association, I can go to label here. And as long as every joint in the rig is labeled, you're not going to run into any errors. So I can just click apply. And now if I look at the weights, tools here, you can see all the weights for the right side have transferred correctly. So this is a good way to ensure that your weights mirror correctly if they're occupying the same space, and it will save you a lot of time and headache. Thanks for watching.